bet it was Nakazawa. I bet Nakazawa is the one that crippled the exploding ring. Damn Nakazawa. So, Revolution was this weekend, and it's fair to say there was some mixed opinions of it. Just get the negatives out of the way. The first is, obviously, that the ending was terribly botched. The botch itself is not the worst thing about this end of the show. Had Omega come out and laughed at how scared Kingston was, just ha ha ha, you really think I'd blow up the ring? You backyarders are all idiots. You probably could have salvaged the just piss poor fireworks display. Unfortunately, a very strong show is going to be pulled down because of it. My second gripe with the show is that Jim Ross sounded like death. I don't know if he was sick, but in the pandemic era, sounding like that is generally really, really bad optics. Especially if we've got Paul White at Daly's place and he's coming in to do commentating and Jim Ross has fallen under the weather. Why can we not just bring Paul White in and give him a nice big advertisement for Dark Elevation? My third and final big gripe with the show was that the brass ring idea was cute in theory, but in practice it looked like one of those life preservers that you'd see at like a beach. It just looked like a life preserver. And the constant shots at WWE, when they're not done very, very well, they're kind of cringy. And I don't want my favorite wrestling product to be cringy. But those are it for my negatives. There will probably be more negatives along the way, but because this is Praise the Graps, let's praise the Graps. So let's start with the buy-in. Rio and Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker and Rebel, who, as it turns out, is injured and has to drop out to everyone's shock and dismay. I assumed this was a worked injury and we were going to take out Rebel and replace her with somebody. I expected somebody from Impact, maybe a Donna Perazzo. I did not expect Maki Ito. I am a huge Maki Ito fan. I know some people's mileage may vary on Maki Ito. And seeing her on American television, just what a wonderful start to a great night. And it really was. It was a great night. All in all, tarnished by a bad finish. To kick off the pay-per-view, we had the Young Bucks versus MJF and Chris Jericho. I thought it was a very standard Young Bucks match. I happen to like Young Bucks, so a standard Young Bucks match is going to be perfectly fine by me. I really like Matt Jackson selling his back, so it would have been nice to see Matt Jackson in a Lion Tamer for an extended period rather than Nick Jackson. I think the Young Bucks retaining is probably a good idea. Having MJF and Chris Jericho lose is a very nice chapter in the dissolution of the Inner Circle. I do expect it to be a dissolution of the Inner Circle, not a full-fledged takeover by MJF. My bold prediction of this video is that MJF is the fourth horseman. But we'll get on to that next. Next, of course, being the Casino Tag Team Battle Royal, which I believe is a bad name for what that match was. It was just a Tag Team Rumble. By calling it a Casino Tag Team Battle Royal, I expected the standard card suits and Joker formula. And we didn't get that. It was two teams in the start and one team every minute 30, I believe. And I think they kept to that. I appreciated that for the entirety of the match, the countdown was on the clock. That is a good shot at WWE. If you've ever timed entrance in the Rumble, you'll see they vary from a minute and a half to, I've seen, close to 3 minutes. So having the ever-present timer was something that I appreciated. I really felt the absence of the Acclaimed and FTR in this match. Unfortunately, Anthony Bowens is out with, I believe, a wrist injury or a knee injury. I believe it's a knee injury. FTR, I understand why they're not in this match because it's probably too early to put FTR and the Young Bucks back together. And if they go in this match, they would have to lose or face the Young Bucks. Neither of those options are great for FTR right now. I found it very confusing as to why we're creating a rift between Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall. Of course, I would love to see Dustin Rhodes return back to the mid-card, but I don't see a whole lot for QT Marshall to do unless he's going to be transitioning off of television. The roster is getting a little bloated, and I know he's got important things to do in the Nightmare Factory. I believe he's one of the main trainers in the Nightmare Factory. So if he needs to focus more on that, it makes sense to break up the Natural Nightmares, but I don't know. If that's not what's going on, I don't see where this goes because QT Marshall is really brought up by his partnership with Dustin Rhodes. I think putting Death Triangle in the winning position was a good idea. Phoenix and Jungle Boy is just a great pairing to end a battle royal with. I think I would have put Lucha Bros in there and put Pac in the Face of the Revolution ladder match. Yeah, Pac and Phoenix against the Young Bucks. That's a great match. I really expected to see a Joker in this match because of the name Casino Tag Team Battle Royal. That's my fault. I hyped myself into this belief, even though none of the teases were towards a Joker. So as disappointed as I am that there was no Joker, I am very happy that I don't have to put up with Enzo and Cass on AEW Dynamite. Next up, we had the AEW Women's World Title match between Hikara Shida and Ryo Mizunami. Ryo Mizunami kicks ass. Of all of the people in the Japanese bracket of the Women's Eliminator Tournament, Ryo Mizunami was maybe the one that impressed me the least. But she's been kicking ass. I've really been enjoying her. My girlfriend was a big fan of Ryo Mizunami the entire time. And I didn't think she was wrong. There was so much other talent in the Japanese bracket that I was impressed by, that Mizunami just kind of floated under the surface, I guess. The post-match was very intriguing. I like that the battle lines are being drawn. I expected Nyla Rose to be turned babyface by this point. What was the last pay-per-view match that Nyla had? Was it Full Gear? Where Nyla lost the match and then Vicky came into the ring and slapped her. I genuinely thought that was leading to a babyface turn for Nyla, and I was very excited because I like Nyla as a performer, and I thought that was a very interesting direction to go in. The battle lines seem to be drawn. We've got Nyla, Britt Baker, and Maki Ito versus Thunder Rosa, Ryo Mizunami, and Shida. That's exciting. I look forward to seeing that on Wednesday. Next up, we have Miro and Kip Sabian versus the best friends combination of Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy. This has been a long build, and I don't even think that this feud is over. I think Miro and Orange Cassidy is the final of this feud. I think this feud's been going on for like 6 months at this point. I really expected we would have had a payoff long before now. But as wonky as this build has been, I think the match really delivered. I don't like the characterization of Miro in the post-match of this match. When Miro tackled Cassidy into Penelope Ford, and Kip and Penelope were very clearly shook by this. Miro continued on with the match and dominated beat up Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor, which makes sense for somebody like Miro. He's a powerhouse. He should be able to take Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor by himself, or especially a weakened Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy. But at that point, when when Kip and Penelope were just like, oh, we're hurt and he's ignoring us. And then the like head locking Kip and like tossing him around like he doesn't have a care in the world. It kind of baby-faced Kip and Penelope, which I believe are the wrong ones to be baby-facing in this. Like, yeah, Miro's big and imposing, but like he's also really funny, and that when he tries to be funny as a heel, it just comes off as cringe because you don't like him and you don't want to laugh with him. You want to laugh at him. And I don't know. I like Kip and Penelope, and I think their heel work is good because they're trying to be unlikable. Whereas Miro is like kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like he wants to be likable, but he's doing things that are unlikable, and it just kind of muddles it. Like I expected the wedding to be a lot earlier, and I expected him to turn on Kip and Penelope at the wedding, but not in like a like brutalizing way, but like he like pranks them at the wedding, and like he turns babyface and laughs at the dickhead Kip and Penelope. I did not expect this feud to be going on for 7 months. But Miro and Orange Cassidy is probably going to be a great match, so still looking forward to that. I just hope it happens soon. All right, we're back on track as a very solid pay-per-view. Next up, we've got Matt Hardy versus Hangman Page, the big money match, where both of them were wagering their Q1 earnings. I think this was Matt Hardy's, not including Stadium Stampede, I think this is Matt Hardy's best match in AEW so far. Although now that I think about it, that's not a very high bar. His feud with Sammy Guevara was great on television, and every time they tried to pay it off, it ended in shambles. Almost tragedy that one time. I think the conceit of the big money match was very exciting because obviously Matt is completely motivated by money at this point. So threatening Matt's money is going to make him incredibly dangerous. It's going to make him fight harder than he's ever fought before, which is exactly what we need from Matt Hardy at this point. He's not the worker that he once was. The broken character is not working in these sparse crowds. It really needs a delete. And with like 1,000 people in an enormous stadium, it doesn't really translate as well. The big money Matt it's really working for me. I like the new direction of Private Party. I'm really liking the introduction of TH2 as just hired guns, much in the way that Butcher and Blade used to be when they were peak Butcher and Blade. But I had the idea in the build up in thinking about this match in the build up that Hangman taking Matt Hardy's money, not for himself, but for the Dark Order, is going to be quite possibly my favorite bit of Dynamite all year. It's basically going to be a nice tacit little tribute to Brody and this crescendo of Dark Order accepting this anxious millennial cowboy of Hangman Page that has been my favorite story on Dynamite since the feud with Kenny, basically. Dark Order was actually in the background for that entire story for basically the entirety of Hangman versus the Elite, and then Hangman versus Kenny, Hangman and Kenny versus FTR. The entire time in the background, Dark Order has been there just trying to be friends with Hangman genuinely, and it's been my favorite part of Dynamite for months and months, and it will probably continue being my favorite. But Hangman Page taking Matt Hardy's money and spending it on a big lavish party for the Dark Order. It's the thing I'm looking forward to even more than seeing what Christian Cage gets up to. Let's skip ahead on that mention of Christian Cage. I think that Christian Cage is quite possibly the best thing that could have happened in this announcement. Of course, everybody wanted it to be CM Punk. I saw a lot of people wanting it to be Brock Lesnar, and I just don't understand. But of course, CM Punk would be this great steal. It would get a lot of press, and everybody would be like, "Oh my God, CM Punk's here! What's he gonna do?" But I think Christian Cage is such a solid all-rounder. He's willing to work multiple matches for AEW, and he's a great worker. He's probably going to be a trainer, and he's one of the best wrestling minds you could possibly get. He's probably nearly as good a wrestling mind as Lance Storm, and an infinitely better character. Everyone is going to benefit from having Christian Cage around. And not to mention, with Edge en route to WrestleMania, that is a supreme steal. That is incredible. I was really looking forward to Edge and Christian versus Roman and Jey Uso at Fastlane. This is honestly more exciting than that. So next up we had the ladder match, the Face of the Revolution ladder match. I thought it was a great match. You put Scorpio Sky, Lance Archer, and Pentagon into a ladder match. It's gonna be exciting. These guys are great high flyers. I mean, yeah, even Lance Archer is a great high flyer. The way he does that Undertaker old school across the ropes into a moonsault, you wouldn't think a guy like that would be a high flyer, but when he tries, it pays off. Jake Roberts bumped Ethan Page. I popped really hard for that. I think Ethan Page is a fantastic get for AEW. I really expected him to win this match. Of course, with his history with Darby, I would love to see that. I think Scorpio Sky is probably gonna lose, unfortunately. I really like Sky, but I don't think it's his time yet. It will be. Scorpio Sky's good enough that his time, he's inevitable. What I didn't like about this match is Cody's Superman moment. Just like at All In, he had a worked injury to, can he continue? Just so he can be like, I'm John Cena. I can fight through anything. Which his work was great. He was already selling the Shaq match. Oh, Max Caster. I don't mean to forget about Max Caster. I do think 10 probably would have been a better fit for this match. Caster took some mean bumps, but it does feel like had Anthony Bowens not been injured, the Acclaimed would have fit better in the tag team battle royal. They could take a battle royal loss and still show up on Dark with a new diss track. Would have been great. Get well soon, Bowens. I like you. Next up was the street fight between Darby Allin and Sting and the Team Taz arrangement of Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. In the build-up to this match, I thought they would go cinematic, and then especially when Cage powerbombed Sting in the middle of the ring, I thought, they're gonna do this in the ring. And after the powerbomb, I thought, you know what? Sting could probably work this match. In the end, I don't know how I feel about the cinematic. I thought the match was a lot of fun. I don't know where Will Hobbs and Hook went. Like, I understand why the Sting mob dispersed, but you'd think once Will Hobbs and Hook made the save, they wouldn't be fought off so easily, and they'd probably be around for the rest of the match. So I think I might have missed something. I might have to go back and rewatch that. But it was very exciting. It was very well shot. It felt like the best of Lucha Underground. If WWE had done Undertaker versus Sting cinematic at WrestleMania and it was half this good, I would have been satisfied. I would have actually been satisfied and thought that's a great way of giving everybody the match they've always wanted, that was Sting versus Undertaker. I think, win or lose, I think Darby should have been involved in the fall. I think it should have been Darby and Ricky in the fall. It's good enough that Sting gets a good showing. I don't think Sting needs to be getting the win over somebody, especially with as bright a future as Ricky Starks. I think Ricky Starks has a lot that he's going to accomplish, and he'll get over this. But it's not the company that AEW. That's not why I like AEW. I like AEW because they really invest in rising stars. And finally, the main event. We had Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley in an exploding barbed wire death match. This is very unfortunate because it was a great match. I'm not a death match guy. I understand the art is in the commitment. I've never been one to appreciate the genuinely great matches that CZW has put on, or the bloodiest and most hardcore of ECW. This though was a great match. I bought on all the drama of them struggling to throw each other into the ropes, and I popped every time that one of them went into the ropes and had it explode. It's just, of course, the ending. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I understand the heat that comes in having the Good Brothers get involved in all of Kenny Omega's matches, even though he does not need the help. Even against Mox, like, Mox is only going to take like 3 explosions and then boom, he's done. Mox is hardcore, but nobody's that hardcore. Hell, even the explosions in the match were small, but they were still impactful. I'd rather have small controlled explosions in a match like this than big out of control. I don't mind a botch if it's something that's like the safer version. Like, I get upset if I see a botch that hurts somebody. That said, the explosion at the end. If everything was simultaneous, it would still be disappointing, but it wouldn't be hilariously bad, which is what it unfortunately was. What's worse is that had things gone to plan, that would have been an incredible babyface turn for Eddie Kingston, and a great way to segue into a first program for Kenny Omega coming out of Revolution. But instead, because of the botch and because nobody called an audible to fix it, Eddie Kingston is just gonna have to take the heat of this. And maybe it's silly to worry, because if anybody can talk their way out of a problem, it's Eddie Kingston. But it's just such an unnecessary problem. The match was over. The ring didn't need to explode. If we weren't sure it was gonna look impressive, then why did we do it? This was such a solid show. I've seen a lot of people complaining that this is AEW's worst show so far. And it's just not. I'm not going to give up on my favorite product because of one bad show. I still watch WWE. I don't like WWE, and I still watch it. But this was a great show. There was nothing really obviously bad about this show, except for the closing. I don't know what else to say. I want to end on a high note. Everybody put in a great effort. And the people that weren't on this show were missed because it was such a strong show. And it's so unfortunate that Kingston is going to be the victim of this. I mean, same with Omega and Moxley. They fucking put each other through hell. They put themselves through hell. Triple hell, to be exact. I'm still going to tune in on Wednesday. I imagine a lot of this is going to be cleared up on Wednesday. Really looking forward to the Dark Order segment. That's going to be a highlight. And you know what? I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with the women's division. If there's plans, I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. Comment what you think is gonna be the outcome. Anyway, thanks for watching. I look forward to making more videos where we can praise the graps together. Have a good one.